Hey, Arcturus here. Today we're looking at the Shield Captain from the Legio Custodes battle group. This has released on its own if you were looking to pick this up and missed out on getting the box set for them. This can be used in Horus Heresy, but it's also usable in 40k. You just use it as a substitute for your other Shield Captain that you would normally run in the Custodes army. Let's take a closer look at the model. You can see I've left the head unglued so that we can look at both head options. Now I have a preference for the helmeted version, and that's what I will be going with, but I did build the other one and we'll look at that in a moment. So let's take a look at the model first, then we'll look at the heads. This looks like a Custode. I mean, they did get the Custodes to look pretty good. Now this is a little less chunky than the older kit, but still looks good, still has all the same sort of design elements, very ornate armor, lots of little details, large shield, kite-shaped shield, looks very good, some very nice detail there. When building this, I did have a little trouble with two sections. The first section was these leg plates. This one went on really easy. The second one was a little wiggling. Once I found the right position, it was fine, but the first time I didn't get it quite aligned correctly. You can see that shiny reflective section where there was a little bit of glue where I tried to put it the first time. So that's just something to be mindful of. The other part that had difficulty was the shield arm. And I don't know if maybe I didn't have it perfectly aligned, but it did start to pull away from the shoulder. Now it's not noticeable because you have these large shoulder pads, so that does help. So I'm pretty happy with that. But it did not want to sit correctly, and I did let it sit for a little while. The other thing I would recommend is when you attach this sword, you want to attach it to the arm before you glue it onto the body. I had to pull the arm off to attach the hand to it because I just couldn't get the right angle while the arm was on the body. I did that very close to when it went on, so it wasn't a problem, but it is something to be aware of. The other thing is this shield is a little heavy, so you want to make sure that glue is really set when you put the shield on because it can tilt. The other thing I might suggest doing, if I did a second one of these, I'd probably do, is to not put the shield on. So I glued this on already. I should have probably blue tacked it because when you prime this, it's going to be very difficult to get that back section of the cloak and this like side section, which you will be able to see when you go to paint it and when you're looking at the model. You will be able to see it. I probably should have left that off. You might not want to either. I don't think you have to, but I think it will be a little difficult to get paint in there, but I'll manage. Painting the shield separately would also help with a lot of that as well. But I'm kind of stuck now. Maybe I could separate it. I just don't think it's worthwhile at this point. But let's start with looking at the heads. Now the heads do attach by that little pin there on the bottom, and there's a little notched hole in there to help get you to the correct position. Now I do find this shoulder pad is probably a little out of position because it does seem to be bumping the hairpiece for the helmet, but this is pretty close to where it should be, and I think that looks pretty good. I think that helmet works really well with this. It's nice, it's ornate, and it helps bring the model to be a little taller, which makes it look a little more refined than the chunkier Custodes of the Custodian Guard kit or Custodian Warden kit. This just kind of makes it look a little taller, even though I don't think this is. So that's the helmeted head. I'll need to glue that in. That one doesn't sit quite as well. The other head, which I do not really like, has that same pin. The back of the head has this sort of hole, I guess, for some of the implants or something that they're supposed to have in the lore. I don't think it will be noticeable from the back, though. So it doesn't seem to be on this. This is the section where it goes. You can sort of see that there's a seam between the hair pieces there. It's pretty noticeable in person. The light here is kind of bleaching it out, and I'll try to get a closer look at it. But this is it with the head. So this is the Shield Captain with the unhelmeted head. I don't quite like this. To me, the head seems too small for the armor. The head feels like it should be larger because of how bulky the armor is. It kind of reminds me of, like somebody wearing their parents' clothes. Like when you're a kid and you're wearing your dad's shirt or something, it just feels like the body armor is too large for the head of this size. Like the arms seem too large for the head to be this small. So it seems a little disproportionate there. And when I look at the miniature, it definitely, without this back piece, it definitely makes it seem squatter. Just not as elongated as they kind of go with. I will say with this hairpiece, it does kind of look like some of the art of the Emperor with when he has the like gold laurel wreath on and that sort of longer hair. It does kind of get close to that. So this piece is made up of two little hair pieces. That seam is pretty noticeable in real life. I think it will fill in with primer and be okay, but I clipped this out. I didn't mess this one up, and like I've messed up parts before, and not in a long time, but I have, and I've like over cleaned up sprue and damaged the model slightly. But this isn't one of those. This is just clipped out. It just doesn't line up super well. And I don't particularly care for it. This is the head, very close so you can see all the detail there. And like it's a okay head, I guess, but it just doesn't fit, I think, for the Custodes. I think they look much better with the helmets. And I guess we'll look at the other helmet as well. I don't have anything to kind of bring this closer so you get to see this with my fingers in the way. Where is it? There it is. So that's the sides and then the face. Where is the... Yeah, so I will probably use this as basing for something else. Just glue it onto a base somewhere. Cut part of the armor so it's got a flat section and then just glue it down as part of basing material, but I don't plan on using this head. I just don't particularly care for the look when it's on the armor. I think it makes the miniature look shorter than it should. Now, here is a close-up of that Custodes helmet, which I think works really well. There is, I will point out one thing, there does seem to be a slight mold line on this side that kind of runs up the side of those fins there. So do try to catch that if you can when you're building it. It seems to be pretty small, so maybe I just got unlucky. There we go. So nicely detailed, very ornate Custodes helmet. They have some that are equally ornate. I like this helmet. I'm definitely going to go with this instead of the unhelmeted version. The other thing I want to point out that I don't quite like about this model, which is more of just a practicality standpoint, is that sword is huge for this model. A massive overhang on the base there. And I guess I could have, well, it's not really a better way to, I guess I could have turned it a little more towards the center, maybe. But just massive overhang. Transporting this, if you're using like a foam case, will probably be pretty difficult because this sticks out a fair bit and then this sticks out so much. If you're using a magnet tray, this is probably fine. But just something to be aware of just how far off that base it sticks out. I mean, it's almost a full, bit further than, that knuckle there on my finger. So just something to be aware of. But I will go with the helmeted head. I'll double check and make sure I get it lined up the way I want it to. I think this might look a little better, kind of more moving forward from this angle. I think that works a little better than the other way. It is a little difficult to get on there because of that back piece, that back halo, and the hair. You can see some of those like side pieces sticking out. I have on previous Custodes models, I think on the Alaris Terminators, clipped off one or two of those to get things to line up where I wanted them a little easier, and also by accident on one occasion. But you can always, of course, cut off that pin on the bottom and put the head however you like. I'm just want to point out that you may have some difficulty with interference from the rest of the model. Well, that's all I have for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.